Hello language lovers and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Stefano and this is Lingua e Passione, the channel about your passion for language. This is gonna be the first video of the new year, and what I think most people associate with the new year is a new beginning, right? New projects, new adventures, and maybe why not even the start of a new language learning journey. Well, today I'd like to share with you a few steps that I consider crucial when starting learning a new language from scratch. Oh, and make sure you watch until the end because there's a pretty cool reveal coming up later on in this video. So now grab a cup of your favorite coffee or tea and let's dive into it right away. And as usual, I hope you enjoy. First and foremost, I need to clarify something very important right off the bat. For me personally, each language is and has a different story, and as such, I do change and tweak my specific strategy depending on the language that I'm approaching. A quick example, I did not approach Mandarin Chinese the same way I did with, for example, Romanian. Mandarin Chinese is a tonal language. It's very distant from my native language, Italian. And it's a tonal language, which means that depending on how you pronounce words, their meaning is going to change. So in that case, I started from pinyin, that's a transliteration, and from pronunciation, focusing on the sounds and the tones right away. Whereas with Romanian, for example, which is much closer to my native language, I dove almost right away into conversation, imitation, and building up vocabulary pretty quickly through that. But since so many of you guys have asked me this question over the time, today I'll attempt to give you a general outline of my best 7 steps to set sail nicely on the journey of learning a new language from scratch. So now buckle up and let's go. Step 1. Choosing the right language. Yeah, sure. This may seem to be an obvious one, but because when I start learning a new language, usually my personal goal is to go a long way with it and to have it accompany me for the rest of my life, possibly and hopefully, then it becomes extremely important for me to select a language that really aligns with my interests and that speaks to me. And the pun was intended here, sadly. Usually what drives me the most in this choice is the way a language sounds or is written, the sheer beauty of it, which is why I often say that I do not actually choose or select a language. It's rather the language that chooses me by attracting me to itself. Other important factors include, obviously, the people I know, the countries where the language is spoken, my travel aspirations, and so on. Step 2. Finding out about the language. This is something that probably not everybody does, but what I do is, before diving in headfirst into Unit 1 of my course or textbook or whatever resource I'm going to use, I like to do a little bit of research about the language in general in order to get a general idea, an overall idea of how the language works, what a typical structure, a typical sentence looks like, and what its main features are. Does it use articles? Does it have genders? Does it have a case system? And what about the verbs? And as far as pronunciation is concerned, how many sounds does it have that I need to learn anew because I have never encountered them in any other language, and so on. By doing so, I get an overall idea of the challenges ahead of me, and I can be better prepared to face them as they come along, with no surprises, or more realistically, with just a few. But very importantly, I will not try and memorize anything at this stage because it would be way too soon and frankly counterproductive. Step 3, sticking to just a few resources. Time to get to the actual studying now. In a world that is more and more filled with language learning materials and with potentially infinite access to online resources, it's very, very easy to get overwhelmed and to lose structure. Just because you could do so many things, you end up doing very, very little. You feel like you are going everywhere, but you're not getting anywhere, right? Well, I feel you. And for me, the key is to simplify as much as possible. So I choose a few select high quality resources and stick with them. For example, one course or textbook with fun and interesting dialogues to function as the main structure that I'll be following, one or two YouTube channels to get exposed to some more language and maybe a few extra tips here and there, and one podcast that I'll be listening to while I'm on the go or while I'm doing the washing up, stuff like that. But that's it. Quality over quantity, always. Step 4, clicking the like button on this video. Oh no, sorry, I got confused, but that would be helpful as well. So if you like what you've seen so far, please go ahead and like this video. That's very, very helpful. But the real step 4 is focusing on mastering the basics. I feel that my best compass along the journey of learning a new language has been patience and the focus on resisting the temptation to want to learn it all right away. So in the beginning, I really tried to concentrate on the building blocks of the language only, the alphabet, pronunciation, essential grammar. For example, the most basic and useful verb tenses that I'm going to use in a conversation. That's what I focus on. All the rest is going to come later on. No rush. So what if I find a complex structure or advanced vocabulary that I think I'm not going to use in my next 3 or 4 conversations? Well, I'll just ignore it. If it's an important one, it's going to come up again later anyway. But I'm not going to use time and especially brain space for it just yet. What I will do instead is repeating over and over again the very basic things that I know I need for everyday conversation. Step 5, producing language early on. Just because sound is such a crucial element of why I learn a language in the first place, I tend to produce language, to speak or to produce those sounds out loud early on. Maybe by reading a simple text out loud or talking to myself about my daily activities, whatever. But all of this counts as practice and it helps me build muscle memory, get used to the language and into the flow, so that later on it's going to be easier for me to add elements for more complex conversation. Step 6, seeking minimalistic guidance. At a certain stage, I consider finding a language tutor or a friend that knows the language very well or is a native speaker and can help me speed up the process a little bit by giving me the answers to my most important questions and that allows me to get some invaluable feedback along the way. To do so, though, I usually wait until I have the ability to at least hold a super simple conversation beyond a simple hi and thank you, okay? Just so that I can actually participate in some kind of exchange. So when exactly is this going to happen? Well, it depends a lot on the distance between the language I'm learning and my native language or other languages that I already speak. And it can be anywhere between 2 weeks and 3 or 4 months. Step 7, staying positive and trusting the process. I know you've heard this probably a few times already, but language learning really is a journey. You know, sometimes the road is going to be bumpy, there's going to be ups and downs. So I try to accept being imperfect, to forgive myself, to stay positive, and to keep in mind that every single word learned is in fact one step forward on the journey. Also, I know that life is going to get in the way at a certain point. So even in those situations, I try to stay persistent, accept some of the setbacks, and allow the language to be absorbed over time with patience without freaking out. This is very important, I think. So there you have it, my 7 building blocks for starting a journey into the uncharted territory of a new language. But hey, speaking of which, have you started learning a new language in 2024? And if so, which one? Share in the comments because I'd love to hear about it. And what if I told you that I started learning a new language around mid-January? I can't wait to tell you more about this language in my next video. So stay tuned, subscribe in order not to miss out on any content, and I will see you then. Bye.